Welcome at Take No Punches, MotorMan RudeDog. This is Rudy Reyes. Welcome to another wonderful, fantastic, and Monday Night Football edition at Take No Punches. MotorMan RudeDog, Scott Morganroth, Rudy Reyes here, ready to really kind of chop it up, talk about tonight's game against the Baltimore Ravens, who really come into this game leading the AFC North, a team that is on the rise with a guy like Lamar Jackson under center, who continues to surprise, yes, even me. And, of course, surprises probably everybody out there other than myself. Scott, thanks for joining me. I know that you're kind of in a traffic line, if you will. It's not the same as being in a hula line. So I just want to let people know where you're at right now. Thanks for coming on. Next wonderful edition of MotorMan RudeDog.
I'm on US 1 on Federal Highway in Fort Lauderdale, folks. So Rudy and I are doing this coast to coast while Rocky Mountain to the Atlantic Ocean. I guess that's one easy way to describe it. Yeah, it's okay. I always enjoy talking to you, Rudy, no matter what, whether I'm stationary or mobile.
Yeah, mobile, stationary, standing on your head. Hopefully just don't do that instead. So we're going to talk about a preview tonight. The Baltimore Ravens are flying into Los Angeles, and they're taking on the Los Angeles Rams, not the Chargers, the Rams. And what's really interesting about this Ravens matchup is they're leading and clearly number two, at least in the recent polls that I've seen from a standing standpoint, headed into a post-season run for the Baltimore Ravens. Not a big surprise, 8-2. Lamar Jackson leads the way with his athleticism, his awareness under center, from being under center, and of course a guy who just continues to be prolific when it comes to not only managing the game, but recognizing what he needs to do in an in-game. What have you seen from Lamar Jackson that you really like, that really stands out to you so far, Scott?
You know what, Rudy? Not only is he a very athletic quarterback and very mobile, but I like the maturity is really what I like in a guy. He's only a second-year pro, and look at what he's doing in such a short period of time. And here's a guy that slid down into the Ravens' lap, so to speak, and Ozzie Newsome, one of his last draft choices. And boy, did Ozzie hit the jackpot with this kid, didn't he?
Oh, big time. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? He came out of the 2018 NFL draft, and I had a chance to interview him. I know I've said this before, and people are probably tired of hearing it. This guy who comes out of Louisville, playing for the Cardinals, Heisman Trophy winner, he just absolutely dominated the scene collegiately. He's done so many great things since, as you stated, falling 32nd overall to the Baltimore Ravens. Do you think the Ravens' expectations were to have Lamar be where he's at right now, or did they think that maybe he was worth the conversion to wide receiver?
Well, no, I believe that they drafted him for a quarterback. Now, I think they're a little caught off guard that Joe Flacco flamed out as quickly as he did, and Lamar Jackson pushed him, but they were going to certainly find a package for him to get him in the lineup. You always find a way, Rudy, to get playmakers into the package. So, yeah, I mean, they were going to get him in. If you got a playmaker, you're going to find all kinds of ways to get him in. But do I think that they expected Joe Flacco to flame out? No, but remember, though, the reason why they drafted Lamar Jackson is because Joe Flacco signed a good guaranteed contract and didn't perform to the contract itself. So they were forced to look for another alternative since they were stagnant and they weren't doing anything. And how has it turned out? Pretty well.
I think it's turned out extremely well. He's leading QBR right now. 70.2 is his average. He's almost thrown for 2,300 passing yards, 19 touchdowns. It just seems to be such a growth pattern for him. Last year, he wasn't looking very good under center. The rollouts, the type of indecisive throws that he's made. A guy that, again, most analysts, and when I say most, I mean most, and you guys know who I'm talking about, said, you know what, he's just be converted to a wide receiver. He'll be okay. He's not going to make it as a quarterback. He has carried that chip, 2 chips, 3 chips, a bag of chips on his shoulder all season long into the offseason last year, and he continues to be this wonder of a guy, of a player, a person, a teammate. He just continues to amaze me as to his level of maturity, what he continues to do on the field. I think, I'm not going to put the cart before the horse here, but I will say this. If there's an MVP conversation, he's a part of that conversation, guaranteed. And yeah, you have your likes, are all different types of MVP guys throughout the league who can clearly make an argument. who is your MVP runner-up if, say, for example, Lamar Jackson won the NFL MVP?
I hate to tell you this. I don't have one.
You don't have an MVP? Everybody is playing relatively equally in your eyes?
To me.
Okay.
I really don't. I think a runner-up to me is a meaningless conversation because I think the guy's going to win it hands down. I really do. You think of one? You tell me who your runner-up is.
Well, you got to give me one to give you one. That's how it is here at Take No Punches. This is Rudy Reyes and Scott Morganroth joining you on at Take No Punches. Throw us a follow if you like the conversation, if you like the information. Throw us a follow. Share this, like it, love it, but never leave it. If there was a runner-up, if I had an honest to gosh runner-up right now, and I'm not even talking quarterback, it would have to be Devin Bush for the Steelers for a couple of reasons. He has been, or either him or maybe even Mika Fitzpatrick, because Mika Fitzpatrick was drafted at the same last year's draft with Lamar Jackson. He was drafted by the Miami Dolphins. I didn't like the pick only because they were going to play him out of his current position. And they did. They played him at safety. He's a cornerback by nature. He played it at Bama, and now he leads the league in fumble recoveries, interceptions. This guy's an absolute stud, at least on the defensive side of the ball. I would probably pick Mika Fitzpatrick and or Devin Bush. You could probably put guys like Cam Hayward in that conversation. And it's so many other guys. Of course, this isn't Steelers-centric, but as far as what I was watching yesterday, I would even tip my hat to Jimmy Garoppolo in the serious runner-up. Why? Because he absolutely picked apart that Green Bay defense. I picked Green Bay only because I felt as though defensively they were feeling it. They were getting turnovers. They were getting stops on third down. They were very concurrent with what they were doing in that Matt LaFleur first-year head coach system. Wasn't the case. Didn't happen. They got demolished. They were lucky to put up 14 points in the entire game. They didn't even get to that. And, of course, the 49ers won that 38-7. But I think more importantly, when you look at the growth spurt, and you can have a quarterback comparison, you have a quarterback conversation between where Jimmy Garoppolo is in an under center, non-mobile, has a good pocket to throw from. But that's the 49ers style of offense. John Harbaugh, on the other hand, in tonight's game against the LA Rams as they travel to Los Angeles, and they're just arriving. Matter of fact, not that long ago did the Ravens arrive there in LA to take on the Rams. But more importantly, what do they do? What do they continue to do offensively? Is it the same old for the Rams on the other side of the ball? Do they get it to Gurley in the flat? What has been the biggest problem, in your opinion, based on what you've seen as far as the Rams' running game and their creativity offensively that keeps them where they're at right now?
Well, before I answer that question, all right, I've thought of a few that I'll throw out there. Nick Bosa is a guy who I put in the conversation. Everybody talks about the 49ers defense being really good. I like actually George Kittle. I really do. And the running back for the Packers, I'm trying to draw a blank. But the Packers running game has certainly been a big part of what they do, which is why Aaron Rodgers hasn't posted a number in the air because Green Bay has been able to find a way to run the football. So, those are a few. Ahmed, help me out there, Rudy. The running back, their feature running back.
Feature running back for
the Packers.
Oh, the Packers? They're a running back by committee. I mean, they've been like that all season long. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams.
There you go. That was that. Aaron Jones. Thank you, Rudy. So, yeah, I think Aaron Jones, in my opinion, is a guy that you talk about putting in the discussion. And, I hate to tell you, Russell Wilson certainly belongs in the conversation. They're playing there right with him, too. That division is definitely not decided. So you always want to try to keep some of your main culprits. I know Amari Cooper had an off day yesterday, but how can you not put Ezekiel Elliott in the conversation either? Without the Ezekiel Elliott, Rudy, the Cowboys would really be in trouble. They really would.
No, the Cowboys are in trouble right now. Cowboys are in trouble right now because of play calling, because of Jason Garrett's play calling, because of the lack of execution. Right. Dak Prescott getting pressure on every down, offensive lines. And they've been okay against defenses that haven't been as good But with the Patriot defense, with the next man up policy that Bill Belichick has in the Patriot system, has allowed for this kind of thing to happen to where they're at right now from a record standpoint and from a quarterback play standpoint. However, I want to add some contrast to that. Tom Brady has not been used to the lack of execution, and that's been part of the problem from the last at least 3 games ago. And I think from a quarterback play standpoint, he's been doing relatively decent. Some of his passes haven't been as high velocitized. He hasn't been able to really get that down pat to a point where, he feels comfortable throwing the ball. He feels relatively disgusted at a couple points during yesterday's game in very torrent weather, I might add, against the Cowboys. But that's something that they're accustomed to and used to, and they've been doing for, forever. So I think overall the Patriots are going to have to figure out a way to get more explosive offensively in order to make Tom Brady look that much better. I don't think it has anything to do with the play calls. I just think it's about execution and getting players like Jacoby Myers more reps, more time, and that they're going to find their way. Whether or not it's this year or next year, I don't know. But again, anything could happen. So your numbers, as far as what you win during the regular season, whether you're 13-0, 14-0, or 15-0, that could always be 13-1, 14-1, 15-1, and the Patriots proved that quite a few years ago. Anyway, so back to tonight's game. This is where the Rams sit right now. So on third down, they're 43 for 118. That doesn't say a whole lot about Jared Goff, but what it doesn't say is, how does Sean McVay answer these questions in regards to why the third down lack of efficiency, because that's exactly what it is, in relation to, and you could add that defensively as well. They're 48 for 126 when it comes to opponents. What does McVay do tonight to right the ship?
They got to get the running game going. Todd Gurley has to have a big game. But the question is the Ravens defense that good, which prevents Todd Gurley of having that big game? And that's the thing. Do their offensive weapons, their wide receivers, become a factor in this contest? Because you know what? Otherwise, it tells me that Jared Goff had a good first year, and all of a sudden, people are starting to figure the guy out. The key word that everybody has to know in this game, Rudy, is adjustments. When you get game film on a guy, you prepare for him better. And remember, the Rams lost the Super Bowl, 10-3? Do you think that there are a lot of teams that looked at that film and said, this is the way we have to control this offense? That's what they've got to do. They have to run the ball efficiently, and they better be able to hit their wide receiving targets. And more importantly, these wide receivers cannot afford to drop the football. They have to hold on to these passes, or they're in trouble.
Well, I want to see more offensive creativity, especially when you're in the red zone. The fourth down conversions are absolutely horrible. They're 1 for 8 on fourth down. And, of course, the total offense, 3,382. And there are teams that are just much better, especially on third down, than the way the Rams, or what the Rams have represented so far this season. Sadly enough, when you don't get Todd Gurley in the game, that allows for other teams to recognize your weaknesses. They're 21st in the NFL in rushing yards. So that means that they're not getting Todd Gurley where they need to get him, where he needs to be, and so far not very creative, at least on that side of the ball. I look for Mike McVay to make some changes, do some more things exotically. And you know what's more interesting? We've seen over the weekend, especially yesterday, where you have big men, defensive tackles, linemen like Vita Vea, whom I also interviewed at the 2018 NFL Draft, get involved in catching the ball for his very first touchdown in the NFL. Do you see this maybe being the case tonight? Do the Rams pull out some type of trickery like we've seen when Philadelphia won their Super Bowl with the Philly special? Is this the Ramalama Ding Dong special? What do you see something like that happening tonight?
Sure, why not? Think about it. Okay, everything else they've had works. So as much as I say, what do you have to lose? Well, a game. But right now, you're playing against a team that's considered a favorite to get to the Super Bowl. They really are. So nothing would surprise me. You've got to get creative if you're not efficient with what you do. I mean, every team has a bunch of trick plays, Rudy, that they're going to have in their playbook. The question is, when you